Okay. We'll give up on that. Tough. All right. So for our final session, I think something that we haven't covered that we definitely should is React. Um, Up to now, let's see. I had chat try and make slides. Apparently you can do that now. Um, so I want to see if they're any good. Dude, that'd be crazy. Every investment banker's about to be put out of business. Eh? It could be worse. All right. So, just raise of hands. Have any of us heard of React? Do we know what that is? Beautiful. Okay. I I guess I'll also ask, we've done JavaScript. We did like two classes of just JavaScript, and then we did one other one. How many of us feel comfortable with it? I know I don't, but that's awesome that you guys feel comfortable with it. Um, Essentially, React is like an abstraction of JavaScript, or we call it a framework. That basically goes like, okay, JavaScript is like vast and complicated, and we don't really understand how it works. These people went like, okay, for web development, we're just going to call everything functions so that when we write, like make websites, we think of things as React components and no longer have to go into JavaScript and like target something by ID like very manually or like mess with the document. Um, Chat put in an analogy that was like React is kind of like Lego pieces for JavaScript. Essentially, like we already think of things as divs. So React just like will make things that are like little Lego pieces that it calls components. Um, this is super beneficial, A, because every company that is somewhat modern uses React to build their websites. So if any of you ever look for a job, knowing React is great for front end, if that's something the company you work for ever needs. And will, I mean, I can't guarantee you anything because like chat got pretty good at React and like front end work. But if you ever work for like a company that needs front end work, that is most likely what they're going to ask you to do. Um, the other benefit of React is state. So you can like update variables super easily without refreshing the page. Um, which for more complex web apps is like awesome. Um, and like what I use most is you can kind of like you can basically like borrow components from other people, which is really nice. So if we go to like Google and we just search up React component library, one of my favorites, I mean, if you guys have seen any like techie websites, you would like basically be seeing shad CN components. Um, Essentially, what this means is there are websites now with like catalogs of things that are like modern pieces of websites. And what you do is you literally just go to a website. Like, this is how people build modern websites now. You go to a component library, someone basically does all the art and like puts together React code for you. Uh, and let's just pick like maybe I want a calendar for my website. This right here. They just give you React code and it just puts this in your website. So like typically like you could go into JavaScript and build this by yourself, but React kind of gives us the power to use these like Lego pieces that other people have like injection molded for us. So it's like it greatly simplifies and abstracts a lot of the fuckery and witchery that is web development. Um, Another great thing about React components are a lot of the ones that you get from a library are by default responsive. What does that mean? No, this isn't a good one to showcase that. Basically, when we let's see if there's a marker. If you were to build something for a website and you were to, and I'll go over like what React is and how you write it and like where you write it next. But basically, if you make a website that looks good on a laptop and like you make a nice like let's use Spotify for example, so you make like a nice nav bar and like it has the magnifying glass for the search and maybe it has like a thing to like type your song here and maybe it has like an enter button. If I were to like just put that on the phone, you can easily write like you'd have to write code to make it so that when the window size is small, you would change the bar to be like this big, or else what would happen would be you'd have just the same bar that doesn't even fit the thing, and then yeah. Um, so we call it responsive when the exact same component can fit on any uh window size. Um, Let me find a good one. Carousel is probably fun. Or, I mean, as I go through these, you can see basically like all the things that you're familiar with. Like they even have like a menu page on the left with like breadcrumbs up here, um, and like a scroll bar and like a profile. Like all of these things you never have to like freestyle yourself to put on a website. You're kind of like reinventing the wheel nowadays if you try and spend the time to do that. People do that, to be clear. Like you would just hire a design team to essentially make your front end team a component library so that they can work with that. Um, that is, yeah. So there are a bunch of these. Some really good ones are, so I just showed you guys, it's called Shad CN. Weird name. Material UI is Google's. So and I think it just, and you would just search up React component library, which at the end of the day is essentially someone wrote a bunch of JavaScript for you and it looks pretty. Material UI React component library. You can kind of just search these up all the time. Some of them are paid. You never really have to use a paid one. I would use the free guys. So this one's called Material UI. Where are the components at? Um, so this is like very googly. If you guys have ever seen like just a super Android app, like this is a radio button that they created. It has like the hover effects and stuff. Um, and you can just all like take the code. Uh, so there's Shadcn, there is Material UI, which is Google. Shadcn, I think Vercel uses them. Deploy your Shadcn. I think they're partnered. I don't, and I think OpenAI also uses Shadcn to make their UI. Um, I can probably confirm that. Like this looks like the thing that we just saw. Like if you look at the bot, like that's kind of like the exact same menu. That this is actually like pulled from Shadcn. That's crazy. Uh, what else? There is, I think it's like Ant Design React Library, which is, I think Alibaba got into React libraries. think. Um, Components. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, so they also have one. Um, but yeah, all of these kind of have like a theme or like a vibe. Like Shad CN is going to be like very like Vercel or like OpenAI vibe always if you use them. Like you can mix up the colors and like customize it how you want. Um, but like they all kind of have a vibe to them. This is going to be very googly if you use Material UI. Ant is kind of like basic. It's a little closer to the googly. But yeah, basically React is something that makes writing JavaScript easier because it breaks everything down into components. And a lot of the time when we write UI, when we make UIs with React, uh, we borrow components from elsewhere. We can do that, but I'll kind of just go through a demo. Um, I'm gonna paste over a couple things. Basically, the way like when you're writing React, um, you're using basically JavaScript, but it's called JSX. Um, so I'm gonna call this one like React intro. And we're gonna do just a simple example where we're like, just we make like a counter app. So you click plus and we'll increment a counter. And we'll do this with React. I'm gonna take what chat gave me because this is like the simplest example. Um, so we'll do that and we'll do that. Yeah. So we'll just make sure this works first, and then we'll go over like what the code is and how it's a little different. Okay, beautiful. Um, Wonderful. Let's go back to the code. So we have a simple counter app, uh, and if we click it, we count it, and if we refresh, there's no like Firebase or database for it. We learned last class that if you want to save like data, what you can do is you can hook up a database, you can send the data over, and then you can read it every time you refresh so that you have the same state. That's not really what we're trying to do with this, and that's not like a problem that React solves. Um, React makes like what React is good for in this case is uh this like counter incrementing, which you can do with JavaScript, but essentially what's happening behind the scenes is whenever you increment the counter with JavaScript, the entire page essentially gets refreshed. React, just the way it's written, allows for what we call state updates. So in this case, when we click the button, 5 goes to 6. So the state of this variable, which is the number, is being updated when we click. Uh, and when we update something like that, only the variable is re-rendered, not the entire page. So if you have a bunch of like videos and images and also a counter, if you do it in JavaScript and like you increment the counter, all of the videos and images are going to be refreshed and it's going to be kind of slow. Um, the way to think about how React is written is, yeah, it's like a tree. So there's a root, um, which is like your app. And then inside of it, you kind of have all of your JavaScript. This would be like the HTML equivalent of like the div that is your entire page, or I guess the body. Um, so you could think of it like similar to the body tag. Because with React, we can also do HTML, which is kind of cool. What you'll see is we get to basically write, so JSX, I think, is like HTML and JavaScript put into one file type. Um, Basically, we get to write JavaScript code. React is a like a function that we get um, from React, but we get to like const is something that we remember. We get to essentially write JavaScript code, and we also get to return HTML code. Um, and what happens here is that's so cool that you can do that. Typically, running React is a little more difficult. Um, but basically, what we do here is we just slap this root inside of our HTML. And then once we do that, all we're actually running is this app.jsx file. The index just serves as something I can open with live server so you guys can see it on Chrome. But basically, all we're doing is we have this function that has a variable. Um, this use state is one of the more common functions that API or oh my gosh, that React gives us. There's use state and there's use effect, which are kind of the only two that I like. There's more, but really the only two things that we learn that we should be super concerned about are use state and use effect with React. Uh, Basically, state makes it so if something changes, the change appears on the page without refreshing. Um, and if you refresh the page, you will lose whatever the state is. The starting state here that we've made our counter variable is 0. So we can see if I refresh the page, the state is like reinstated to the initial value and it becomes 0. And if I click on it, what we can see basically what this uh, app function in React is saying is it's going to return or this div that we are looking at. So we remember how we can uh, see what we're looking at. There's an outer div with an H1, a P tag, and a button. Um, so we can see that very clearly here. Basically, our React function is returning the HTML for a one component that is being put on our page, which is a div, a header, paragraph text with a variable in it, which is this const, uh, and then the quick, um, like what happens when we click the button. There's a bunch of ways to write this. Uh, like I can tell windsurf real quick. So what's happening in this is basically when we click the button. Okay, beautiful. that's easier to understand. When we click this button, we're going to call this handle click function, which we can set up here. What was happening before was we did something called an anonymous function, which inline can just do something, and you can only do it for one line. You do it for something simple like adding one. But basically, what we're going to do is I don't know why it needs two, but every time the click happens, what we do is uh, we set the on click to call the handle click function, and then use state always comes with it has like a pair. So the only way to change state is you use the set variable. Um, so as you guys can see, when we create a stateful variable, what we do is we make the variable name. So we say const, which we know for JavaScript means we're going to make a variable. And then count is the variable name. And then we also name the function that manipulates the state of the variable. Uh, and state is just like the value of it. So count is whatever has initially 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. And to change that, we use set count. Um, yeah. So here, whenever we click, we use the set count so that we can actually change the state, and we add one. And I think I have to reset my open server, which I do here. Beautiful. And that results in the same thing. Um, what else is good? That's kind of like React in a nutshell. It's basically you learn how to use. So if we were to go, I actually think, okay, so we should download React so that we can actually run it. So if everyone can get your laptops out, um, it's probably a good exercise. Fun fact, Facebook made React just as part of like they wanted an easier way to make their websites and their apps. Um, React also has a component library for mobile app development called React Native. So if you're making a web app, you would use React typically. That would be the industry standard. And if you're making a mobile app, so something to put on the App Store, the Google Play Store, you in a lot of cases will use React Native. Um, yeah, it's actually been a minute since I've done this. Have we installed Node.js yet? Yeah, I think I remember doing that in Healy once.
I do have one on my computer, so I guess we did.
Yeah. Can we all run, if you have a Mac, run, okay, wait a second. I think it's PowerShell that lets you do Bash. Okay. If you have Windows or Mac, so if you're on Mac, go to terminal and run node-v. Raise your hand if you don't get a version number. And if you're on Windows, open PowerShell, not command prompt.
Okay.
I th
It checked. It worked for me when I used my phones.
Word. Basically, the reason I say PowerShell is it follows the like scripting of the Mac one more closely. So sometimes you'd have to just do like something different. Um, Like on command prompt, you can't type ls, right?
I actually just tested LS. I was thinking the
So
same thing.
PowerShell, you
So
can
yeah,
do
I don't have
ls. Command
LS.
prompt, you have to do a dir.
I, for some reason, LS is the thing I thought of that might
Yeah,
be different.
I because it's like so ingrained. Okay. Did anybody run node dash v and not get a number? Like I'm assuming. Okay, so we all have node installed, which is great. Um, and essentially, when we run JavaScript code, typically we're running it in the browser with open live, like with live server. So Google Chrome provides us the thing that essentially compiles our JavaScript and runs it. Node.js is like basically you run a server on your laptop to compile the JavaScript code, so you don't need to go into Chrome to do that. We call that a runtime environment, and React uses it as well. Um, okay, so let's all go just into any folder where you've been writing code and make a new folder. Um, so I'm just gonna call it like React app demo. Um, the easiest way to make a React app, basically, most people start from boilerplate. Like we kind of wrote our own thing, but it's annoying. As you can see, like we had to make an index.html that like got a root from an app.jsx, which was like all weird, and I don't even understand it. I do, but it's like annoying. So what we would rather do, I didn't mean to click on ports, is just start from a boilerplate. And the way that we do that is we write npx create React app with dashes. So create React app. And then if you put it in a folder, you can just do a period. This is a tip for anybody ever making or using something that wants a name for a folder that it's going to create. If you do a period, it'll take the parent folder. Um, I realize I'm not actually in the one that I made, so I'm going to cd into the folder that I wanted, and then I'm going to do npx create React app, and then I'm going to do period. Uh, and raise your hand, please, if it doesn't start like spinning and making shit. Um, we're
It says,
going, yeah.
um, it cannot be all because running scripts is disabled on this system.
Try it in command prompt now.
Or I was trying that in PowerShell.
Can you
Oh,
try
not
in
in
the
VS Code.
VS Code terminal? It might be easier if you're in VS Code and you click the three lines at the top, you'll find terminal. Um, but for everybody where that didn't have an issue, you're gonna hit Y to proceed. Um,
It also says, oh, but that is just PowerShell.
Command
I'll try
prompt usually
command
has
prompt.
higher permissions. There's a whole process you can go through to give PowerShell permissions. It's just annoying and everyone hates doing that. It didn't work in VS Code. Was it using PowerShell or command prompt? You'll see on the right, it'll tell you. Try command prompt. So you can look here. If you do a plus on the right, you can choose what. I would use command prompt.
Yeah, it's working in command prompt.
Yeah, it's weird permission shit. Um,
Why does it say create React app is deprecated?
because this is like the classic one. Typically people use something called Vite. Um, dude, do they not have an icon? That's crazy. That's so funny for a UI. That's ridiculous.
Oh,
Uh
an icon seems to have appeared.
oh yeah, that's so weird. Maybe it was just slow to load it for me. Um, what do you have to do for Vite? Vite is just npx Vite. I mean, yeah, like we can do this too. It doesn't really matter. Uh, Basically, it's just you're choosing different boilerplate, and people have kind of gone from create React app to this Vite one or like others. There's like a million of them.
Things are
Uh,
happening.
Say it again.
Things are happening.
Yeah, it if you get the happy hacking,
Oh, not
it should be
happening.
good. What was the last thing that it said for you? Can you scroll down?
It was like you need to install the following packages.
Oh, interesting. Can I?
Let's take a look.
Oh, it's create React app.
Yeah.
The create app demo was
That's what we need.
yeah. What were you saying?
I just got 10 to 20 command prompts in the PowerShell, so.
Okay, word. Yeah, I'll give you all a second.
No, what's the thing I need to type?
Say it again.
What's the command?
Oh, yeah, let me highlight it. It's npx followed by create React app. And if you're in the right folder, you just do a period. And then say it again. I did one of the hackathons. Hoyax is good though. They have good prizes usually. Sick. Okay, cool. So for everybody, I'm assuming, unless you say something, we're in the same place. Uh, Now you're gonna write npm start. And it'll take a second. But basically what happened is beautiful.
Where, how, where did that come from?
When you write npm start in terminal in the same folder that you made that app, the create React app, you will basically start a development server.
I should allow public and private networks to access Node.js JavaScript runtime management.
Yeah, if that's something that's being asked. Um, and essentially
Well,
you're running a server that has a viewer, yeah, that goes in your browser. And we can take a look at some of the code that's in this boilerplate. So if we, oh, how long has this been out?
not very long. Wait, if I go to 10, 1, 20, 34, 68, 3000, will I see yours?
You're on the same Wi-Fi router.
I think.
You,
Well, I'm on EduRoam right now. If I was
then
on
definitely not.
Saxonet, if I was on Saxonet, would I
You
see?
might be able to. Because thinking back to our networking class, essentially what this is telling me is localhost is my machine. So obviously my machine can access this, but you guys, when
Okay,
you
I
do
just
localhost, would be
typed in
yours.
like the number from your screen and this showed
And it
up.
worked. Is your number the same?
No, my number's not the same.
Oh, sick. Valid.
Well, yes, I have localhost 3000.
It should be the same for
But
everyone. And if the port 3000 is taken, it'll just take another one. Okay. So what are we looking at? Essentially, every React app um, starts with node modules, which we don't ever touch. So node modules are something you need. Uh, how do you think of them? It's kind of just like when you do your import statements, like you are importing them and you're basically putting them here. Uh, If for some reason you add modules, or let's say you accidentally remove the node modules folder, dude, is it rm-r? Good enough. Let's say for some reason you lost your modules. Uh, Whenever this gets done deleting my node modules, um, so now you can see I don't have them. If I try to npm start, it's basically going to try to run a bunch of functions and it's not going to know where the functions were written. Like, yeah, exactly. Like it's going to try and run a bunch of scripts and the scripts just aren't there because you need the modules. So in this case, we just run an npm install. And if you ever need to add one more thing to your modules folder, you would do npm install and then the name of that module. Um, I guess I can also quickly say, are we familiar with what NPM is? Do we have any idea what that is? Sick. Uh, NPM is a package manager. What does that mean? We could all write a package right now. If you write a function that takes in two numbers, A and B, and it returns the sum of them, and then you were to go to the Node Package Manager website and you were to upload that function as a package, I could then npm install your package and then get that function. So what is a package? It's essentially one file with a fuck ton of functions or classes or code that you can borrow. If you import something in Python, it's kind of the same thing. So when we pip install in Python, we are going to the internet, finding pip, and then going into pip's database, finding the code that we want to retrieve, taking the code, and then bringing it back onto our machine and installing it into our local Python, which is the same as the node modules, just a bunch of scripts. Or in this case, we're going to NPM's website, going to their database, getting whatever packages we need or scripts that we need, which is code someone else has written, and then we're getting it back. Um, so that's just what NPM is. Um, you'll hear of PNPM or I don't know, there's a bunch of package managers. It's just anyone that like wants to host packages. It's hard to be like a new one because people just choose what has the most. Uh, but yeah, NPM's fine to use. Uh, there's also going to be a public folder in a React app. We call the React app like the folder containing all of this shit. The app itself is in the source code or the SRC. And typically when we say the app, in this case, we'd be thinking of the index.js is like the starting point, um, similar to index.html. But all it really does is it says we're going to render the app, which is just app.js. Similar to the index.html demo I did before. We just need to like have a page that goes like, okay, this is the app. But the app itself can't say that. Um, and then the app itself, similar to the other thing, is just returning HTML. Uh, what else? I want to let you guys out like 10 minutes early, so I'm just gonna see what like we're kind of missing in this. Um, so we also typically have an index.html, which does still so before like we pointed it to the root and that's still true. Index.html is going to be the thing that your browser first looks at because it declares what the tab name is and it also declares like the description. So like if you were to Google this website, like you'd see the like website created with React app. Uh Indexed HTML with a React app is only going to have meta information. Like again, the title of the app or the description or like the language or something like that. Um most like you're not going to be touching, all you have to do is point it to root like we did before. Um, what else do we need? When we use React, um, again, it's kind of like it's just replacing our HTML. Like we use CSS. So app.js uses app.css. And you can use JSX or JS when using React. Uh, it's not super like strict. Because all we're doing is we're writing JavaScript and then we're returning HTML that might use JavaScript variables that we write, basically, or special React things. Um, we would turn this into a JSX file if we use state or use effect, which are special React things. Um, what else? I'd say these are like this is the most important basics of it. Um, in your own exploration, if you choose to do more React or when you eventually get on a Hoya developers project team that uses React, um, I would try not to reinvent the wheel as much as possible. Like if you think something could be easier, it probably is. Uh, I think these are all the notes. I think for the final project, what I want to give you guys is like a super simple thing that chat could probably knock out. Um, but I'll also ask you to like host something on Vercel and give me like a link and maybe have like a bonus. So like you could choose to hook up Firebase to something super, super simply, or uh maybe like use React instead of JavaScript and like maybe explore use state and then figure out how to use that. Um and I'll throw that up in the coming days. And I'll have the final project on the Google Classroom. Are we all in Google Classroom in this room? Raise your hand if you're not. Sick. Um and basically like it doesn't have to be perfect. If you do it, you're in. Uh like coming for the entire semester is enough commitment that we're like, I think you're in. Uh, and then you can Slack me at any point if you have questions. Please use chat to your heart's content. Like that's just what programmers do. If you want to understand it, that's only going to be beneficial. And I'd invite you to understand it and try to write some stuff here on your own. Or at least understand what chat writes for you. But that's gonna be what it is. We'll do just like a very simple app that like has one function, like a to-do list or or like a counter, like a beefed up counter or something. Um, yeah. Considering this is our last session, does anybody have any questions about anything or next semester or I mean the final project, I'll throw up something uh on Classroom. Um, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't think anyone's gonna look at it until next semester, and I don't really want to give you guys work during finals. Um, yeah, I mean, the last one I gave that was for this semester, like people finished it after the summer, so like, yeah. I mean, that's only beneficial to be fair, because you're gonna be on a project team in a couple months. Um, I would do it before cab fare. But I'll throw like a
What's the second
soft
cab
due
fare?
date. What?
There's a
Yeah,
second cab fare.
it's kind of lame. It's in Levy.
It's indoors.
It's in the ballroom,
Big.
like by the Amazon locker thing. Uh,
Still not that big.
They also go through like the hallway on the side.
yeah. And yeah, we're not associated with Georgetown, so we have to be like outcasts and like
Oh yeah, where's the?
why? Yeah, I mean, the college only gives you like a couple $100 a semester. So it's like and absolutely nothing else. So the only benefit would be cab fare and like less than what we would collect with social dues. Um, so there's like nothing else. It's only restrictions actually, to be fair. You just can't. I mean, no one's gotten mad at us for calling ourselves Hoya developers, but you like shouldn't use Georgetown or Hoya in your name unless you're associated.
What are the restrictions?
Uh, like the meetings you have, the events that you do, having people that aren't Georgetown affiliated, you have to like talk with faculty about your club all the time. Um, and then if you do anything stupid, I'm assuming you could actually get punished if you're affiliated. And if you're not, it's just like a group of people being silly. Um, yeah, I this is all I have for you guys. I'll let us out early.
The funny thing would be if the unaffiliated clubs still have to be at risk. You said the captain.
Yeah. I mean, for